Hi, kids. Okay, cue the Doors. It's number 8. Greatest films of all time. Apocalypse Now. Released 1979. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. He was just on this list a couple numbers ago with The Godfather Part 2. So, Francis Ford Coppola is the director. Star is Martin Sheen, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Dennis Hopper. We've got Larry Fishburne, Lawrence Fishburne, credited as Larry at the time. He was also 14 years old when he was cast. Lied about his age, of course. And then Scott Glenn is in this. Scott Glenn, there was an open casting call. 50 actors showed up. They were divided into groups of 4. They had to improv. Scott Glenn pointed out some inconsistencies, you see, because Scott Glenn was in the Marine Corps, and the writer of this had not served any military service. So he pointed that out. Coppola said, I want that guy. Scott Glenn is cast. Get back to Scott again later. So, Apocalypse Now, famously based on Heart of Darkness, the novel by Joseph Conrad. The novel, by the way, released in 1899. So, Heart of Darkness deals with comments on imperialism, comments on racism, comments on European colonial rule, all of those themes that are still in Apocalypse Now, right? Are they? So, Polish author, his works have been adapted by many people. Notably, you could say Hitchcock's Sabotage is based on Joseph Conrad works. Ridley Scott's debut film, The Duelist, based on Joseph Conrad works. And Heart of Darkness was adapted as a CBS TV movie in 1958, starring Roddy McDowall, Boris Karloff, and Eartha Kitt. That's right, it had Frankenstein and Catwoman in it. That's awesome. So, screenplay for this film is by John Milieu. John Milieu, part of sort of the USC film brats group. Went to USC. While there, his film professor mentioned that nobody had successfully adapted Heart of Darkness into a screenplay. And he took that as a challenge. He took that personally. So he set about to adapt it. He was encouraged by Spielberg and Lucas and Coppola. Coppola put up some money for him to write it, finance it. The plan was Coppola was going to produce, and at one point, George Lucas was going to direct it. George Lucas was going to direct it like Battle of Algiers, so it would be black and white, kind of pseudo-documentary guerrilla warfare footage style. But from encouragement from Coppola again, Lucas makes American Graffiti to show that he can relate to human beings. That's a big hit. American Graffiti on this list. And that kind of gives him the clout, the blank check, if you will, to do whatever he wants. So he makes a Star Wars, his passion project, instead of Apocalypse Now. So Coppola takes it on. Coppola is the director. Coppola is kind of the big man in Hollywood at this point, right? Both Godfathers have come out. Conversation. Can make bankroll, get greenlit, whatever he wants. Scouting locations to fill in for Vietnam. Picks the Philippines basically because it is the cheapest location. So films announced. I think at one point Steve McQueen is attached to star in it. There was a number of big names like that were attached. The problem was nobody wanted to be in the film because they're going away for 4 months scheduled to film in the jungle in the Philippines. Nobody wanted to do that. So eventually the film is cast and filming starts in March, I believe. What is it? March 20th, 1976. They start filming. They start filming with Harvey Keitel in the lead role. Harvey Keitel is Captain Willard. The problem is the part of Captain Willard is supposed to be reserved, withdrawn, sort of shell shocked, maybe PTSD, not really reactionary to what is going on, what's transpiring, just kind of a shell of a man. Keitel was reacting too much. Keitel was acting. He was reacting. Not what Coppola was looking for. So after a month of shooting, Keitel is fired, and then Martin Sheen is brought on. Martin Sheen had screen tested for The Godfather. Coppola remembered that. I believe he had also auditioned, almost got the part for Apocalypse Now. So they call Sheen in, and he comes in the jungle, restart filming. Sheen in April. Apparently, it only took like 4 days to film the stuff that they had filmed with Keitel, but this was a troubled shoot. Apocalypse Now. I don't know if you've heard that. Troubled shoot. So then in May, there's a big typhoon. Since like 58 or something, the biggest typhoon in the Philippines comes, wrecks their set. Luckily, they had done filming. Everyone was in Manila. Typhoon comes, wrecks their set. Everybody's fine. In the aftermath, though, there's a situation with a boat tied to a rope. It's going to sink. Scott Glenn, former Marine, springs to action, cuts the rope. Coppola says, "You saved my life. I'll make your part bigger." Coppola says he's going to write his part bigger. And Scott Glenn says, "No, don't do that. I want to be in the end of the film." Coppola says, "Not really any part in the end of the film. There's this one part, but it's tiny." And Scott Glenn says, "Yes, I'll take it." Scott Glenn wanted to be in the end of the film because he wanted to be on set with Dennis Hopper, and he wanted to be on set with Marlon Brando. Scott Glenn, still new to acting relatively, wanted to learn from the best. Smart man, that Scott Glenn. So that's how Scott Glenn gets the part of, is it Lieutenant Colby? He is the predecessor to Captain Willard, right? He's a captain. He's the first man who was supposed to go and kill Kurtz, but he joins him instead. Spoiler alert. Okay, so that happens. Then in March, Martin Sheen has a heart attack, which he hides from production. Says it's just heat stroke. He has a heart attack. I think he's 36 years old at the time. So then his brother, Joe Estevez, comes and he fills in. He's his stand-in. Martin will say now that he can't really even tell which scenes in the film are him and what scenes are Joe. By the way, the opening of the film, where he's in his hotel room, drunk, and he cuts himself, smears blood on his face, that's all real. They got alcoholic Martin Sheen drunk and filmed him. Yeah, that's cool. So, troubled shoot in January of 1978. Remember, this started filming in March of 1976. January 1778, Michael Herr is called in. Michael Herr is tasked with writing the narration for this film. So I think in John Miliu's original screenplay, there was narration. Coppola didn't think it was very good, didn't think he needed it. Without it, some changes were made. Now we're getting towards the end of production, and we realize we need that narration. We need something to tie this together, like a rug that ties it together. So he comes in, does that, and then in May of 1979, the film premieres at Cannes, unfinished. They haven't finished editing it. They had, like, I believe, 4 multiple endings. They had an ending in the screenplay that they didn't use, I think. They filmed some different endings and decided which way they were going to go. At one point, I think Willard is supposed to kind of kill Kurtz and then take his place as the new Kurtz. "I am my father now," and then he puts on the Darth Vader mask. Anyways, I believe it's the only film to premiere at Cannes that is an unfinished product. And then eventually it's released for you guys to watch, general audiences, August 15th, 1979. Oh, also, I should mention Walter Murch. Mentioned him on this channel before. Walter Murch, I believe, the first person to be officially credited as sound designer. I think up to this point it was sound editor, sound engineer. He is sound designer because in the jungle the equipment didn't really record the on-set sound that well. The gunshots, he wanted to mix things in stereo. So he basically had to come up with a way of composing the sound of this film, if you will. Also, someone had edited the film, and it became his job as far as just the basic editing, not the sound editing. So I'll task for that guy. So Apocalypse Now is number 8 on this list. AFI's 98 list of greatest films of all time, it's number 28. And then in 2007, it's number 30. On IMDb, according to you, it is number 53. Interestingly, it's not on the Metacritic Top 100. BFI 2012 list, it was number 14 on the critics list, number 6 on the directors list. And then 2022 was 19 on the critics list, 18 on the directors list. Sometimes we will see films rise and fall on the rankings. Part of that is just due to the relevancy. How relevant is this film to current world affairs and events? How well can you relate to it? If you can't relate to it, it's not going to be as high on the list. Science! Okay, so if you made it all 12 minutes through this, thank you. You're weird. Like, subscribe.